Christmas is my all-time favorite time to craft, and I thought it would be so fun to do some garden-inspired ornaments for Christmas in July. I'm going to be using these mini canvas boards that I had in my stash along with these cut apart scrapbook paper pieces. These fit perfectly on those little canvas panels. So I've got a selection of some garden inspired ones. There's like little seed packets and garden sayings. I'm just going to go through these all and decide on which ones I want to use. I fell in love with this one that says grow your garden. I think it would be perfect to hang on a tree. So I'm just going to be using my Fiskars paper trimmer and just cutting down. I find that this is the easiest way to get a precise cut. You can also use a ruler and a craft knife. Once I did have this particular piece cut out, I discovered that it was a little bit too long, so I did need to go in and just trim it up slightly. Make adjustments according to the size of your little canvas panel. And now it's ready to adhere to our panel, but I wanted to paint out the white edge. I decided to use some gold paint and I'm just going around the edge, and I'm also going to go around the edge on the front because I did see a little bit of the white showing and I personally didn't want that particular look. Of course, use any color that you'd like or just leave it plain white. These are all nice and dry. Now I'm using some tacky glue and I'm going to just add some to the front of the panel. I like to use a plastic card to smooth it all out. And I like to use tacky glue. I just find that it works really well. I get really good adhesion. So I just spread that out and I've got a little bit of wiggle room to move my little piece of paper on the front of the panel. And I always like to flip it upside down to allow it to dry. And that way here you can press it as well. I've got this little vintage seed packet scrapbook cut apart piece. I'm just gonna, again, just trim it down just a little bit so you can see just a faint little frame of the gold around this particular piece. Of course, decorate this up any way that you'd like. So I'm going to allow these to dry well, and then what I'm going to do is also cover the backside. This is something that I don't always do, but I kind of wanted to finish it off because I didn't like the raw wood on the back. So I'm just going to add another piece of scrapbook paper. I'm adding a bit of this glue that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I like that it had a really nice narrow nozzle on it. I applied a little too much, so I'm just going to remove some of it and just put it onto my other frame as you see me doing. And then I'm going to press it down onto the back side of the scrapbook paper that I'm using as my base on these little frames. So you can see that I didn't pre-cut that scrapbook paper. I decided that I wanted to do it this way instead. I thought I'd get a bit more of a precise cut, and then also I didn't have to like fiddle around with it and try to get it exactly on. Once it's dry, you can take a craft knife and then just cut it out around it, and it worked out really well. I think it looks so pretty. I decided I wanted to use one of these little eye hooks as my hanger, so I'm just finding the middle of the top of the frame, and then I like to just poke a little hole in it and then twist that little eye hook in. It works really, really easily. Of course, you can use a tool if need be, so I just added that there. So at this point, you can decorate these any way you'd like, or you can even leave them plain. I love to add branches to my pieces. I love to bring in nature and decorate with it. And I find branches are just so easy to use. So first I like to just figure out the length that I need my branches to be, and then I cut them down to size. I like branches that have got like little bits of lichen on it and some little nubs and little branches branching out, and I just like the different characteristics of it. So I'm just going to go through my little stash that I have. I had foraged these and allowed them to dry well, and if you're concerned about bugs, you can place these in an oven on a low heat to kill anything off. But these branches, I've only had a problem with them once, I think it was, and but yeah, that was about it. So again, I'm just going to trim these down and using some that have got a little bit of character, allowing them to overhang like you see me here, and I'm using my hot glue gun to put those into place. I'm going to use jute string, and I'm just going to create a simple little hanger just by creating a loop and then tying the two ends together with a knot. And I decided I wanted to add just a little bit of just a casual loose bow on the top around the eye hook, because I didn't want the eye hook to stand out so much. Again, if you've decorated it differently, then you can take that into account and decorate around it accordingly. I think these turned out great though. I think they'll look beautiful on a garden-inspired Christmas tree. I have these beautiful wood slices and napkins. The napkins have got these gorgeous garden flowers all over them, and I thought they would be perfect use for decoupage for a garden-inspired ornament. So what I need to do is just paint one of these with some off-white craft paint. This is optional. I'm just showing you two ways on how you can do this. I'll be showing you one where the base is the off-white, and then the other one I'm just going to leave it in the raw wood. So these are, the one is all painted and ready to go. I also had added some eye hooks to it as well, just like I did for the little mini frames. So now I'm just using some tape to remove the backing off of the napkins. I had troubles with this one. I don't know, I was amazed at how well it stuck, especially since I got these napkins from a dollar store. But I did manage to pull it off eventually after a little work, but all I did was tear it down into a smaller, more usable piece. So I just figured out the pattern that I wanted on the wood slice, and then I am going to be using my DecoArt decoupage glue for this project. So here I'm just tearing these down, and you're gonna see the difference between the raw wood and the painted one once I've got it all sealed up. But first I'm just going to apply a layer of the decoupage glue to the wood slice, and I'm being careful that I don't get some directly on the bark. I wanted the bark to show, but of course feel free to do this whichever way you'd like. I just wanted that natural raw look to be exposed. So once I got some glue on, the decoupage glue, I'm going to press the napkin into the glue, just being very gentle because the napkin can tear. And then I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'll do the other side as well. I haven't put a second coat on just yet. I am allowing the napkins to dry completely before I do my next layer of glue. So now I'm going to be doing the one with the wood slice, and as I was working on this, I'm like, wow, this is very absorbent, of course, because I don't have the paint on this one. So I did end up using a little bit more glue. But again, just had the glue on and then press the napkin into place, allow that glue to set up, and then you can move on to the other side. Okay, these are all nice and dry. I'm going to just tear the excess napkin away. Again, I just want that kind of rough, rugged edge showing. You'll also want to remove any of the loose bits that might be hanging off as well. And don't forget to tear off the excess on the other side of your wood slice as well. Okay, so my wood slices are all ready for the second coat. So I'm just going to go over it, and it's going to be more absorbent because you are going over paper, but you can see how on the white, the colors really pop against that. And then you're gonna see that once I do the natural wood here, the colors are more muted. And so I just wanted to show you both ways just so you can decide on what you would like to try out. So I'm going to just give one coat each on one side, allow it to dry, and then I'm going to flip them over and do the other side, and again allow them to dry. Here they are. You can see the difference between them here. One's really popping and the other one's more muted. I've got this gorgeous kind of organza ribbon that I had in my stash of ribbons. I'm just going to tie a simple hanger for this. And then I decided to add a bow. Again, I wanted to cover up the eye hook. I didn't really want that brassy color to be showing. I am wondering if any of you have done Christmas in July crafting before. I never did until I started doing YouTube. I have to say, I find it a lot of fun. So I'm just going to use some hot glue, just a little dab, add my bow to the top, and there you have a beautiful, simple, rustic garden ornament. So I'm going to show you another alternative for this project. I'm going to be using some washi stickers along with some clear stickers, and they've got some beautiful florals, and I already prepped my wood surface, and you can see how these just pop against that white. And the washi sticker, the white edge actually just fades out. So I'm just going to remove the backing. I ended up struggling a little bit, but we skipped over that part. So I'm just going to place the washi sticker down. I'm going to press it down really hard, but then I did have some overhang, so I needed to go back in and lift up the edge a little bit, and I just used some scissors to cut that. Afterwards, I realized that I perhaps should have used a craft knife to trim this off, but I just grabbed my scissors and trimmed it off. I trimmed off a little bit too much, but I still made it work. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just finish trimming up the rest of this. So now I'm going to be using my decoupage glue and going over it. This is a matte finish, so if you like a shiny one, then go ahead and use that. But I just gave it a coat, and I figured that way here this sticker will stick down really well. Now I am going to be using a clear sticker, and I trimmed it off ahead of time before I removed the backing and put it onto the wood slice. I think I still had a little bit of overhang that I needed to trim off, but I made it work. So I'm going to just put the sticker down, and again, you'll see how nicely the color just pops against that white background. I really like how these ones turned out. And I decided to go over it with my matte decoupage glue as well, because I wanted the finishes to be the same. So I was actually surprised at how well this decoupage glue stuck to the shininess of this particular sticker, and I'm loving it. It's just so pretty. So again, I'm using some organza ribbon. I've got this pretty pink one that matches the flowers really nicely. So same thing, just created a simple little hanger and a simple little bow and used my hot glue to attach that, and then it was all ready for the tree. So I was doing some experimenting with some nature crafts, and I really wanted to try flower pounding. So this is a little violet that I had pounded onto some watercolor paper. I'll have the original video for this linked for you down in my description box in case you want to check how to do this. But it's really easy. It's just watercolor paper, a pretty flower, and a hammer and hard surface. Now, I heard that it could brown, so you might want to seal it with some sealant or some decoupage glue, and then hopefully that will prolong the color. I'm not sure, but we'll see. So here's my flower, and I've got this really pretty thrifted frame that I had picked up. and it was all ready to go as an ornament. So it was a really easy project. I just put this little violet into the frame, and then all I had to do was add a pretty little bow. Again, I wanted to hide that eye hook. This one came with the eye hook already and the ribbon to hang, and I had some pretty organza that matched the ribbon that was already on there perfectly, so it worked out really well. This was a really quick and easy project, and I think it is going to look stunning on the tree. I've noticed Dollar Tree has been carrying these pretty grapevine heart wreaths for the last few years, and so I thought I would decorate one for the tree. So I'm just using some Dollar Tree florals and some pretty little white lace trim that I had, and I'm just going to create a simple little loopy bow, and I'm adding an extra tail, and I like to use some florist wire just to tie it off in the center, just to help hold all the gathers. I like to collect some different things throughout the year that I can use during Christmas, because I like to create all kinds of different styles of ornaments. So keep that in mind when you are out shopping at dollar stores seasonally, or even craft stores. So here I've got my bow all ready to go. So I'm just figuring out my placement, and I haven't glued it into place yet. So I'm also figuring out where I want to put my little hanger, and I had to tie a knot on it first before I actually tied the knot at the top to create the loop to hang. You can see how I did that right there, and now it's hanging nicely. So I decided to create just again another simple basic loopy bow. Just wanted to tie one up so I can cover up the knot where I had it tied onto the wreath. Any kind of ribbon would work well for this, but I wanted the romantic look of this pretty lace. So now I'm just going to, again, figure out the placement of everything. Now I'm just going to trim down these little scraps that I had of these florals. Dollar Tree has had these several years now, and I think they're just gorgeous. They're actually some of my favorites. I admit I am so particular when it comes to florals. So yeah, if you see these, definitely get them because they look quite realistic. They almost look like meadow flowers. All right, so now I'm just going to use some hot glue and start to put everything together. I put my bow into place, and you can see how everything's kind of offset, which I really like. And then using some hot glue again, I am going to add the florals as well. Dollar Tree also has these pretty little faux roses. These are the off yellow, the kind of yellow color, and I'm just trimming off the stem that was underneath, and again I'm just going to glue them into place. This is a great way to use those little scraps that we usually have laying around after a big project. Now I'm just going to add a few leaves as well, and this is just coming together so easily and so quickly. I think it just is so pretty and will look great on a tree for Christmas. I'm hoping to have like a little tree in my bedroom at Christmas time and be able to put these particular ornaments and other garden inspired ornaments that I have made in the past. I also decided to add a little bit of greenery at the top around the little loopy bow as well. So for this one, I'm taking a bit more of a modern approach to this garden ornament. I've got these really nice wood beads, and what I'm going to do is actually stack them. But I needed some jute rope and again those Dollar Tree florals, and I cut some down to size already. And with the jute rope, I decided, I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I took a really long strand and I folded it in half. And then that fold, I threaded that through my wood beads. I wanted to create a hanger at the top, and I thought this would probably be the best way to do that. And I also thought that stringing the beads would make it easier to adhere them all together in a straight line. So I'm just creating a knot on the bottom so that they don't fall off, of course. And at this point, you could also create a tassel and do that as well on the bottom. I decided not to do that for this particular one, but I think it would look really, really good as well. So I'm just checking to see how my florals will fit inside the wood bead. And this actually worked really well. The wood bead hole was a little bit bigger. So now I'm just also going to figure out the length that I need for my hanger. So it was still a little too long, so I just pulled down the knot and then I retied that knot at the bottom. Again, you need that knot to stop this from coming apart. So I just tied that, I think I double tied it. I'm adding some hot glue, pulling the knot into that bottom hole, and then that will prevent it from falling apart. Now I am adding some hot glue in between the beads, and that's helping it all stick together as well. The other thing that'll help keep it all together is that I left a nice long stem on my greenery that fits down in between. So I'll be showing you that in a moment. I decided to add just a little bit more hot glue on the bottom to help hold the knot in place. And now I'm going to add the stems of my greenery. I just split the string at the top apart, and now adding some hot glue, I'm putting my stems down in the middle of the hole there, as you see me doing. You can see how I had a nice long stem, and that's going to help stabilize this whole piece as well. So now I am just going to kind of weave, I guess you could say, the string in around the greenery just to make sure it's going to hang properly as well. I'm adding just a touch more greenery just at the base for a pop of color. You could use evergreens as well, or any kind of Christmas greens, but again, I'm just trying to keep this garden look for these pieces. I added a little floral and I think it looks adorable. And now, I don't know, I felt like it still just kind of looked a little bit plain. So I decided to add some moss, but you could totally skip this step if you find that it's just a little too much. I also wanted to hide the knot on the bottom, so I'm adding a touch on the bottom there. And I'm going to add a little bit in between the beads. And I have to admit, I think I overdid it at this point, but I still think it looks good. Of course, feel free to add any little decorative piece that you'd like for any of your ornaments, really. This is definitely a great way to use up those scraps. So I'm sharing another rustic modern ornament. I've got this cute little wood stump I got from the dollar store, a little succulent. I needed 2 eye hooks, some moss, and some jute twine. So I'm just figuring out the center for my eye hooks. I needed to create a hanger, but I needed the eye hooks to be on one side each of the little stump. So I'm taking an awl to create some deeper holes because the wood was a little stronger, so I needed some better guide holes. And now I'm just starting to screw them in, and I ended up needing to use a tool so I could just apply a little more pressure to screw these in. And at this point, I should have put my jute twine on, but I didn't. I went and used some moss, and I needed the moss to, again, cover up those eye hooks. I didn't want that showing. And also thought it kind of created like a bit more of a woodland look using the moss. This is preserved reindeer moss, by the way. I got it from my local dollar store. So I put that into place, and I just removed any of the bits that I thought was just a little too much. And again, I should have tied the jute string on. I ended up struggling with it. So I'm going to just add my succulent. It was a little bit too big for this project. I just removed one layer, and then I just pushed that down into place using some hot glue. It's looking super cute. Now I'm going to add just a little more of the reindeer moss to hide those eye hooks. And then I'm going to be using the jute twine. Now, because of all of that moss that I used, I struggled to string the eye hooks. And I tried using my scissors and poking it through. I ended up using some tape and created a stronger pointy tip to thread it through. And it helped, but I still struggled with it a little bit. You can see me here. I'm struggling. I'm like, I can't fit it in this way. So I went the opposite and I tried to do the other side and still struggled, but I did end up getting it done, and it does look super, super quick. If I would have added the jute twine first, I would have got this project done super fast, but you know, you guys can learn from my mistake. So I just tie that on with a knot. And then again, if you want to add more moss to cover up the knot, go right ahead. You could also add some evergreens. That would look really pretty. Some faux snow would look really nice too. But I really like how this one turned out. Dollar Tree has some self-laminating sheets, so I grabbed a pack of those along with some pressed flowers that I had done last year, along with some in the spring. You'll also need a little mini hoop, embroidery hoop for this project. This one is about 4 inches from what I know. This is the first time I've used these self-laminating cards, and this is the white part here, that's the backing. So I needed to keep that into place for now, but I flipped it over, so then I'm tracing a circle with a pencil where the backing was sticking to, the sticky side. So that way here, I'm gonna like peel this off, and I am going to know exactly where I need to place my leaves and florals. So this is a really pretty fern, and you wanna make sure that they are being pressed upside down, because where the sticky is, the sticky side, that is the front of our laminating sheet. So I'm just going to create a pattern. I'm just adding my ferns. Again, I pressed those last year, and these little violets, I pressed these in the spring. Adding those and I've got some rose leaves and some rose petals. I'm going to add those for a little pop of color. I thought maybe even some like evergreens would be really pretty in something like this. Every once in a while, you'll see me flipping that sticky side down. I just want to make sure that the front side is looking good. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to work on this. Once you've got that all in place, I thought I could remove that little sticky tab that you see me fiddling around with, but once I started fiddling around, I realized I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about that because that's all going to get cut away. I put the sticky side down to the backing, and now I'm using a brayer to smooth this out. You can use a soft cloth and kind of burnish it, but I didn't want to break any of my florals. So that's why I thought maybe the brayer worked best, and it actually worked really, really well. So I'm just going to continue to work over it. Once you have that figured out, I am going to use some hot glue to adhere this to the piece. You'll have to work quite quickly because the glue does set up quickly. So if you know of another adhesive that could be used for this project, please leave a comment in the comment section down below to let me know. So I've got the hoop glued down. Now I'm using my craft knife and I'm pressing the blade hard up against the hoop, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. I did have to go around a few times to loosen the plastic and the dry florals. Once it's cut out, it'll pop out really easily. So I wanted just a little bit of added insurance here. So I decided to use the tip of my glue gun, and I'm just running it over the edge of the hoop. So that will help to seal the laminating sheet, as well as get rid of any excess hot glue that might have oozed out. You don't have to do this step, but I just wanted that just extra strength added in that spot. So again, I'm using this beautiful organza ribbon, and I'm going to create a simple loop. And this time around though, I'm going to use the knot to adhere it to the top of the hoop. So I trimmed off the tails and adding some hot glue to the top here, and I'm going to press that knot down into place, and then I'm going to allow it to set up. Now I'm going to go ahead and again create a simple loopy bow, and I'll use some hot glue to glue that into place. And I have to say, I think this is one of my favorites. I think it just turned out so beautiful. I can't wait to play around with some more pressed leafed ornaments and other creations. I just think they're so fun to play with. I've got this video here that's packed full of ornament inspiration for you to check out. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.